everyone, let's learn about carbonic anhydrase inhibitors today. First, let's look into the history of carbonic anhydrase inhibitors. Sulfanilamide, which is a sulfonamide antibacterial agent, was introduced in 1940s. It was noted that this drug notoriously produced metabolic acidosis, and metabolic acidosis was found to be due to inhibition of the enzyme carbonic anhydrase. Later on, a lot of carbonic anhydrase came into the market, but the most commonly used one is acetazolamide. The site of action of carbonic anhydrase inhibitors is primarily proximal convoluted tubule, and it has a secondary action in the collecting duct. Let's first see what happens in the proximal convoluted tubule, which is the primary site of action of carbonic anhydrase inhibitors. The glomerular capillary tuft filters most of the solutes except for proteins. Thus, the tubular fluid that enters the proximal convoluted tubule is an ultrafiltrate of plasma. The basolateral membrane of the proximal tubular cell has a sodium-potassium ATPase pump, which pumps out 3 molecules of sodium into the interstitial space, keeping the proximal tubular sodium concentration low. This provides the gradient for entry of sodium via sodium-hydrogen antiport into the proximal tubular cell. The energy derived from downstream movement of sodium is utilized to pump out H+ ions into the tubular lumen. This H+ ion combines with the filtered bicarbonate ion and forms the carbonic acid. The carbonic acid, in the presence of carbonic anhydrase enzyme, splits into water and carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide, being lipid soluble, diffuses into the cell and combines with water in the presence of carbonic anhydrase enzyme to form carbonic acid again. The carbonic acid inside the proximal tubular cell quickly decomposes into H+ and bicarbonate because the proton concentration or the H+ concentration in the tubular cell is kept low due to the activity of sodium-hydrogen antiport. The bicarbonate ion, thus formed inside the proximal tubular cell, moves alongside sodium with the help of sodium bicarbonate symporter into the interstitial space. Following which there is proportionate absorption of water, that means there is an isotonic water absorption. The water reabsorption would concentrate the chloride ions present in the tubular lumen, and this would provide a driving force for chloride to enter the interstitial space via the paracellular spaces. Please note that there is net reabsorption of sodium, bicarbonate and chloride ions. By blocking the carbonic anhydrase enzyme, acetazolamide inhibits reabsorption of sodium, bicarbonate and chloride ions from the proximal tubular cells. Now let's look into the secondary site of action of acetazolamide, that is the cortical duct cells. Inside the cortical duct cells, the carbonic acid that is formed is split up into H+ and bicarbonate. The H+ formed is pumped via H+ ATPase pump into the tubular lumen, which combines with ammonia to form ammonium ion. By blocking the carbonic anhydrase enzyme, secretion of H+ and ammonium ion is affected. That is, secretion of titratable acid is affected. The effect of acetazolamide on urinary excretion. There is loss of sodium and bicarbonate in the urine, and in the collecting duct the secretion of titratable acids and NH4 plus is affected, leading to metabolic acidosis because there is loss of bicarbonate and also secretion of acids is affected. This leads on to metabolic acidosis. Most of the sodium that is lost from the proximal convoluted tubule is rescued from the thick ascending limb of loop of Henle and also from the distal nephron. In the distal nephron, sodium is reabsorbed in exchange of potassium. So, there is an excessive loss of potassium leading on to hypokalemia. 65% of the lost bicarbonate is rescued via a carbonic anhydrase independent mechanism. There is also an increased loss of phosphate via unknown mechanism. The action of carbonic anhydrase inhibitors is self-limiting because metabolic acidosis would itself reduce bicarbonate excretion. The effects of acetazolamide on renal hemodynamics. Since acetazolamide acts by inhibiting sodium and chloride reabsorption in the proximal convoluted tubule, there is increased delivery of solutes to macula densa. This would trigger the tubulo-glomerular feedback, resulting in efferent arteriolar constriction, and this would decrease renal blood flow and decrease the glomerular filtration rate. Thus, acetazolamide or carbonic anhydrase inhibitors decrease the renal blood flow and decrease glomerular filtration rate. The uses of acetazolamide. Acetazolamide is used in glaucoma, especially the acute congestive glaucoma. These drugs act on the ciliary epithelium and reduce the aqueous humor formation. They are also used to alkalinize the urine because they increase bicarbonate secretion in the urine. They are used in mountain sickness prophylaxis. These drugs act by causing acidosis, thus increasing the respiratory drive. This drug is not a substitute for slow ascent. It can also be used in periodic paralysis and epilepsy. Probably the drug benefits in these conditions by causing metabolic acidosis. The adverse effects of acetazolamide. Acetazolamide can cause bone marrow suppression, allergic skin reaction, probably because its structure resembles that of sulfonamides. It can cause renal stones by alkalinizing the urine. It can precipitate hepatic encephalopathy by altering ammonia secretion and also cause metabolic acidosis. I would like you to remember 5 points about acetazolamide. Acetazolamide is a sulfonamide derivative. It is a carbonic anhydrase inhibitor and causes mild diuresis. We saw that most of the sodium and bicarbonate are rescued. So it's only a mild diuretic or a weak diuretic agent. It causes metabolic acidosis by loss of bicarbonate in the urine and by also affecting secretion of titratable acids. It is used in glaucoma, epilepsy, periodic paralysis and mountain sickness. It can cause sulfur reaction and renal calculi.